We are going to open the lines, and we look forward to hearing from you, your questions, your suggestions, your comments. There is one thing that I always ask, and is that you be respectful when you call, and we do not tolerate disrespect on this program. And so the numbers to call are locally 465-2555. That's 465-2555. And the overseas number is 1-718-577-2916. That is 1-718-577-2916. We await your call.
Well, we have already identified where it will be. We will be creating in the Clico building on South Independence Square, upstairs. We will be having the DPP's office moved there over the next few weeks, and the land registry will also be going in that building, where the current DPP's office is now. We will be converting that into a second courtroom.
Sure.
So these are plans that have already been put in train, and we'll be working towards that. There are a number of other programs that we are also doing and working assiduously to have completed over the next few
I think we have our first caller, AG. Let's take our first caller. Good afternoon, working for you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. AG and Mr. Williams. Back to a topic that came up earlier this afternoon pertaining to the two-term limit for the future prime ministers. I am not sure, I'm not an expert on the Constitution, but I would imagine that the Constitution speaks to maybe the term limits of the prime minister. But what process will have to be, will it be necessary to have a referendum to any changes that may be necessary for to establish term limits for prime minister, for one? And in a case like that, if there is a referendum, would there need to be a two-thirds majority, or a simple majority would work in a situation like that? I will listen for an answer off air. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that we are going over what was beaten earlier. Under the Constitution, we can pass laws under Section 37 of the Constitution that allows us to carry legislation to the House that leads to the good governance in St. Kitts and Nevis. And laws of that nature need a simple majority for those who are part of the National Assembly, elected as well as nominated members. There are certain provisions of the Constitution that from time to time that need, if they need changing, amended, that you need a simple two-thirds majority of elected members in the House who will determine how a constitutional provision can be changed or not. And then there are those provisions of the Constitution that are entrenched, and by entrenched it simply means that you not only need to pass them by two-thirds majority in the Parliament, but you also need to have a referendum in which you need a two-thirds majority. So there are different ways in which laws can be done in our country to govern what we have. What we have done currently to go into Parliament is a simply legislative provision which will establish the law. That is where we are currently, and it will be subject to debate by different parts of the Parliament. And so that is how this particular provision will be done. I should point out that as we speak going forward, there are other constitutional measures that our administration would want to have addressed, and not just in terms of term limits. I think there are other things that we would want to have in terms of the reform process. We have spoken at length about questions of electoral reform, some of which may need to be addressed through constitutional provisions. There are issues, as we speak of electoral reform, of whether it is that we deal strictly only with residents, the ability of residents to be able to vote, what type of residents we're talking about. And so these are matters for the country as a whole, whether you live here or not, to be engaged in as we go forward. And so they are not just term limits, but a number of other provisions that we would have on our agenda as we go forward in the new year to look at in terms of our good governance agenda.